Hi, this is Kimberly. This is a synopsis and a critique of Chapter 3 of My Daddy is a Hero, How Chris Watts Went from Family Man to Family Killer by Lena Derhally. The title of this chapter is I'm In, and I'm bored. Don't get me wrong, it's an easy-flowing and interesting read, but it's all too vaguely familiar. I know she has to establish the story, but I'm anxious to get to the part where Miss Lena is gonna tell us what the hell is wrong with Dumbass. Gonna try and make us understand some of what goes on inside that peanut head. She is touching on parts of the case that I don't know by heart, and when I compare it to the discovery, she's just following along with the law enforcement synopsis. It's not word for word, but it's a close follow. So this is how the chapter goes. It's the evening of the murders. Chris and Shit is home cleaning up the crime scene. Friends keep dropping by like it's a substandard sitcom. Everyone wants to say they're there to the chowderhead and console his dull-witted, horn-swoggling ass. Nick and Amanda Thayer had just arrived home from Kentucky, where sadly they had attended the funeral of Amanda's brother. Shanann and Amanda had met in 2016 when Amanda was director of Primrose School, where Bella and Cece attended. Nick and CW became casual friends as well as the family started spending time together. They would sometimes go out running and jogging. That's the perfect activity for Chris and Shit, so he doesn't have to talk. Nick Thayer said CW was a bit closed off and hard to get to know on a deeper level. Nick, you are never going to be able to know him. He's empty, vacant, wooden, motionless, idle, barren. His antenna does not pick up all the channels. Shanann had motivated Amanda Thayer to sell out to sell Thrive. Cassie and Nikki Atkinson were blowing up Amanda's phone that afternoon, asking if she had heard from Shanann. Nikki wanted to let Amanda know that Chris Asshat Watts was coming up with an ever-changing rigmarole, telling her and Cassie different versions. Everyone was shocked and bewildered, and shit just didn't make sense, and they were all, what the fuck, man? Nick and Amanda Thayer were unsettled about Shanann disappearing with the children, so about 6 p.m. that evening they went to call on Chris and Shit. A few days earlier, Shanann had shared with a shocked Amanda that there was trouble in paradise. Minutes before Nick and Amanda arrived at the Watts family home, Chris had confirmed by email to a large group of friends that he was in the Fantasy Football League, to which several people found a bit disturbing in light of the fact his family was purportedly missing. Facebook was blowing the fuck up too, with Shanann and the girls missing, so it was just like a modern-day party line going on. Everyone got updates almost in real time. Amanda felt like Chris's oddball behavior she observed while at his house. Well, she just couldn't put her finger on it right away, and then she just chalked it up to shock and grief, just as when she had lost her own brother. The three of them sat at the kitchen table and dished the dirt. Chris told them he was pulling the plug on the marriage, and Shanann was not happy when he told her the very shocking, unexpected news of wanting to sell the house and separate at about 4 a.m. that morning. He yabbered about money being tight and they couldn't afford the house, and in general their finances were in the shithole. He told a cock and bull story of how, as a concerned husband and father, he rushed home when Nikki let him know Shanann was not responding to phone calls and texts, and he called the school on his way home to see if they'd put in an appearance there. Shut up, Chris and Shit. He's so fucking ignorant. He can't even lie properly. This is after he withdrew them. Wouldn't they be on the same page? What a dumb fuck. Nick and Amanda had a shit ton of questions for CW. He told them the doorbell footage showed Shanann arriving home early that morning, and the neighbor showed Chris preparing to leave for work. Also, the police had taken Shanann's phone. The book says, quote, "It's too quiet and empty in this house." Chris's tone was flat and devoid of emotion. Dumbass is always devoid of emotion. He's emotionally bankrupt. CW fibbed and said he wanted his family back. Nick asked about the media attention. Chris and Shit said he didn't want to talk to them because they would twist his words and make him look like, quote, public enemy number one, end quote. No one makes you look like shit, Chris and Shit. You have no problem doing that on your own and making a spectacle of yourself, and you had no problem yucking it up with the reporters, did you? And there was no need for anyone in the media to twist your words, as you said. They just stood back and let your alpha geek, dumbass, bonehead self yammer and yammer on. That was the most brilliant interview I have ever seen. Good God Almighty, son. I didn't see him shying away from the camera. He seemed to be enjoying the spotlight, and he couldn't stop grinning like a Cheshire cat. He seemed to be quite pleased with himself. Amanda invited Dingbat to come and spend the night. Although C.W. was keen for a sleepover, he declined and explained he wanted to confirm there was no forgotten evidence. I mean, to clean up the house for when his family returned. He probably needed time to get his elf pajamas out in storage in the basement anyway, 'cause he did spend the night the next evening. Then Shanann's friend from high school in North Carolina showed up, Lauren Arnold. Lauren was good friends with both Chris and Shanann. She was sympathetic to C.W.'s dilemma and thought perhaps she could be of some help, or at least get him something to eat. Most likely something that would be easy on his queasy stomach, like some smiley face pancakes. Lauren got there and hugged her friend. She was looking around when C.W. said he had to close the doors upstairs because he couldn't handle seeing all of their stuff and the toys. But there were toys scattered all over downstairs. Lauren started to ponder as to why that didn't bother Fuckface. Her spidey senses started tingling.
So when we made that comment about closing the doors upstairs, what was your thought process when he said that to you?
At first, I thought it was weird that he had mentioned it because I kind of just looked upstairs, and it's sort of a habit when I go in because like your eye just kind of automatically wants to look around, I guess. And so from downstairs, you can see like their bedroom door. You can kind of see a little bit upstairs. So I just happened to just like glance and look around, and
everyone just needed to accept that he was a pathetic, pitiful, wretched, inadequate, woeful, deplorable, hapless, lousy, insufficient, deficient, inferior, abysmal, inveterate liar, as well as his other substandard. But is he human? I was going to say human qualities. Characteristics. He doesn't have quality either. You know what? Fuck that. Fuck all of that bullshit. Good God Almighty, he gets on my nerves. She had not even noticed the closed doors upstairs until he mentioned it. She started to feel a bit dithery. Chris acted as host, a very welcoming host, just as Shanann had taught him, for Thrive parties. Lauren had never before met Nick and Amanda. Lauren wanted to know if Ass Clown had gone out looking for his family, and Nick answered for him, saying they were told to stay put. So, Lauren said she would drive around and have a look. What did she expect? To see them walking down the street with just the clothes on their backs? Lauren had observed herself that C.W. was acting differently and more distant beginning around June. And the beginning of June, of course, is when the heavy flirting started between C.W. and Hickey. Yeah, Dumbo was that transparent. If you're standing next to him and you just kind of glance over and you see his ear, you can see daylight straight through all the way to the other side. There's nothing in there. Okay? And of course, June is when Shanann announced her third pregnancy. Dickweed started not giving a damn when Shanann was feeling unwell with her pregnancy, when in the past was quite supportive and a lackey when she was expecting Bella and Cece. Lauren started feeling a little bit dubious of C.W. She thoroughly checked out his sculpted abs and well-defined arm muscles. I mean, she scoped out his bare arms for any marks or scratches, since he was wearing a tank top. The informer, who was all over Facebook doing fundraisers and telling people to spread the word, considered if Nick and Amanda would be interested in a little gossip session. She pulled Nick and Amanda to the side and asked that they not leave him alone. She was already suspecting he may try to hide and cover up some shit. Lauren left and drove around the neighborhood before she set out for home. The Thayers left around 9:30 p.m., and then David Colin showed up. It was a regular open house around there. I don't know if people didn't get the notice that the gender reveal had been canceled or what, but people just kept showing up one after another. He is a friend of douchebag Watts, and a check of discovery shows that at the time he was employed at Boulder County Jail. He met Chris and Shanann when they all worked together at the Longmont Ford dealership. Jerkoff was a mechanic and Shanann, of course, did sales. Shanann's constant posting on Facebook got on David's nerves, so he unfriended Shanann. He had recently learned that Shanann did the posting on Chris's Facebook. David said that made sense because the posts were not guyish. Wow, I envy his vocabulary. He recognized that Shanann wore the pants in the marriage, but he thought they were a good complement and match to one another. He was a bit shocked to find out that there were troubles in their marriage. Jackass had informed David what had happened was over a phone conversation earlier that day. When he got there, he saw that Chris was in the middle of bleaching the house, destroying evidence, hosing down the house, and making perfect vacuum lines in the carpet. And then he whipped up a nice protein shake for himself. He had kind of gotten used to living the fun, alternative bachelor lifestyle and found that he preferred it to being pinned down in a marriage. Absolutely. He now preferred this over what he had chosen years before to become a husband and a father. Then Jeremy Lindstrom showed up. It was just Grand Central around there. Jeremy was the father of the boy that had the birthday party the day before on Sunday. CW, Bella, and CC had attended. Fucktard whined to his friends about marital calamities. Colin asked if foul play was considered. CW said he thought they were just hiding out somewhere without their medications. He said that made him feel anxious and alarmed. Well, for God's sake, shut the fuck up, you boob. He is such a horse's ass, jackwagon chicken shit, gutless detestable bastard, obnoxious lying cheating dipshit, wanker lowlife, lunkhead menace, noodlehead pea-brain, unfortunate clumsy, dim-witted sleazebag piss-face. I hope you drop dead and go to fucking hell. Quote, although Colin considered both Shanann and Chris friends, he had unfriended Shanann on Facebook because of her incessant posting, promoting, and selling of Thrive. End quote. At the police station, Officer James was making multiple phone calls to friends of Shanann, including her Thrive friends. While in Arizona that weekend, Shanann expressed to many of her friends that 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐜𝐻 was acting out of character and that maybe he was having an affair, which would also be very out of character for him. It seems that Shanann was trying to talk herself out of believing he had met someone new, and that he desired a complete lifestyle change that did not include her or the children. Her friends were very encouraging to her and seemed to be guiding her away from thinking he would leave her for someone else. So they were helping her rebuff her intuition and to be in denial. They were in denial together as a group. Her friend Addie Maloney told Officer James about how Asshat had gotten a babysitter, supposedly to go to a Rockies game with a friend. And there was that pesky $62 credit card charge for supposedly a salmon dinner with a beer or two. Then about Shanann playing detective, going online to look at the menu and the cost of the items he said he had, and it was double the price. Which of course made it seem like he was paying for 2 dinners, and he was out way past his bedtime. Time that the Rockies game had ended, because she looked that up too. Shanann was all gumshoeing and shit. So yeah, Shanann had pretty much pieced it all together. So, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it probably is a small, wild, or domesticated, web-footed, broad-billed swimming bird. I think she just didn't yet know who she was. You know, tricky. Addie had been informed by Shanann all about Chris's doing things to arouse suspicion, deleting texts from his phone, even ones from his father, and that he had changed the wallpaper on his phone from her and the girls to the sand dunes. Addie also knew that CW had encouraged Shanann to go on the Arizona trip even though she wanted to stay home, because Asshat tricked her into thinking he was coming around and rejoining the marriage. Also, they had plans to go to Aspen the following weekend to work on the irredeemable relationship. Officer Goodman played phone tag with Chris around 2 a.m. The officer wanted to get more information on Shanann and the girls. He found it odd that Chicken Shit did not ask if he had any word on his family. He was just very aloof, a very standoffish, uninterested fucktard. Officer Goodman filed the missing persons report. He received a call from Sandy, Shanann's mother, quote, "My husband and I believe Chris is involved, and this is a matter of foul play," she said in her raspy voice, distraught. "Chris is acting weird. He's telling people he has to go to work and isn't right. I think he's going to pour oil on their bodies and dispose of them somewhere," end quote. Sandy knew a little bit about the marital strife, and that Dumbass had been on edge with Shanann and the children. Quote, "If Chris did something to her after the emotional conversation he said they had, she wouldn't be able to fight because of her lupus," Sandy told Officer Goodman. After they got off the phone, Sandy called back one more time. "Officer, I just got off the phone with Chris and didn't feel any genuine emotion or concern from him. He's not shedding any tears." "Well, that's because he's a vacant vessel. He's hollow inside, uninhabited, unoccupied. He's idle, worthless, and barren. He has vacated the premises a long time ago," Mrs. Rusick continued. "He also called a neighbor to tell them he thinks the police are watching him," end quote. The next day, on Tuesday, the media storm was ignited. At first, I didn't understand the title of this chapter called "I'm In." Then I realized it was referring to the fantasy football that Chris and Shit joined. So far, we're just reviewing Discovery. I found this chapter to be kind of vanilla, but it's stuff I've not focused on too much in the past. So I did find it a little bit intriguing with the things his friends were saying, and when this ship first went down, I didn't realize there were so many people popping over to visit that night. Miss Lena does a pretty good job of summing it up. It's quite obvious she delved into this and has done a lot of research, and then she has a very smooth way of putting it all together in a story form. I think I did listen to the interviews initially when this first happened. It's all coming back to me now. It's good to review this again. It's kind of like when you binge watch something on Netflix and it took forever to learn all the characters' names and what their role is. And now that you understand the show, the characters, and their personalities, you want to go back to the beginning and see what you missed. Those little subtle things, you know. And then you're like, aha. Or maybe it's just me. And that's why I'll be posting some of the original interviews and or body cam, etc., as it's mentioned in the book, just because it has been a long time since I watched a lot of those, and I always catch something that I missed before, just a little thing, but it's something I like to do. And so if you don't like these kind of videos, just exit out. Sorry, but I'm going to do me, and you go do your ungrateful ass. That will be the end of this video. I'll pick up with chapter 4 in the next one, which is about what Cindy Watts coined as nut gate. Much love and peace. Thank you for listening.